back in action here. And gosh, I'm trying to get this. There it is. Sorry about that. I was trying to maximize this. Now, what we need to talk about next is the ultimate weapon here, the atomic bomb, the development of the atomic bomb. The project that is going to result in the development of the atomic bomb is known as the Manhattan Project. And J. Robert Oppenheimer is going to be the leading scientist that is sort of tasked with the responsibility to get scientists from all over the country for this purpose. Now, the project, of course, is top secret. Hardly anybody knows about what's happening, and even the scientists that are involved in the process here, they are sent to Los Alamos, New Mexico, where they are told only that they are serving their country, that this is a top secret mission, and all they know about what they're doing is the part that they're working on. They don't know about what the other scientists are doing there, even though they all live within the same proximity of each other. They're not supposed to talk to each other about what they're working on. Their phone calls are screened, their mail is screened, and so there's this sort of sense that something major is going on. Now, although they don't really know all the details about it, they kind of put two and two together. But either ways, they cannot talk about it. They are supposed to hold all of these information top secret. And the reason why the United States even develops a bomb in the first place has a lot to do with Albert Einstein. He, of course, is one of the German Jews that has to leave Germany, after the rise of Hitler, after Jews are beginning to get pushed out of jobs in the government university of the country, period. And so he's going to tell FDR that Hitler is actually trying to develop this weapon. And because of that, that's going to lead to the authorization of the Manhattan Project, okay? And like I said, Oppenheimer is going to go all over the country recruiting people. They are tasked with a component of the bomb, developing this bomb. But they cannot talk to each other. Now, in retrospect, Oppenheimer ends up kind of regretting, his involvement. Once the bomb is unleashed, he kind of feels like a murderer. And, he kind of goes around the country talking about this. But, it's much too late. Once it's out there, it's like the genie, right, in the bottle. You can't really put it back inside. Once those bombs were dropped, it's really kind of impossible to stop the effects of it. But nevertheless, Oppenheimer and scientists like himself are pretty horrified at the extent of the damage of just the level of destruction that is unleashed on the world. Is something that is still very much debated today, because what the Manhattan Project leads to, and the bombing of Japan, is really kind of like nuclear proliferation. So to the point where I don't even know how many nuclear weapons the United States has, let alone the rest of the world. But nevertheless, in July 1945, President Truman is told that the nuclear bomb has been completed. He actually didn't even know about it until that time. Now, this is going to take place at the Potsdam Conference, and of course, who is there? It's Truman, Stalin, and Churchill. And at Potsdam, Truman has to sort of make this decision now. What do we do with this bomb? We've spent millions and millions of dollars in developing it. It was actually supposed to be used to stop Hitler, but It's July 1945. The war is over in Europe. So now what do we do with it? We spent all of this research, all of this manpower, all of this money to develop this bomb. And so the justification there for Truman is that if we use it on Japan, that it's going to somehow save lives, not just American, but Japanese as well, especially when you consider the fact that, these guys fight till the last man standing. It's estimated that, the cost, the number of lives saved would outnumber the costs of the war, right? They're probably going to be saving a few years and hundreds of thousands of lives. So, at that time, there's really no way that Truman wouldn't have used it. All of the reasons for it, all of the justifications point towards the use of the bomb. Now, some historians have argued that it's not just, the money, the research, the trying to spare American lives, the trying to bring an end to the war now. Those are all good reasons for it, but some have argued that part of the reason why Truman uses the bomb is to intimidate Stalin. So Stalin, of course, has grown really confident. He's not frightened by Churchill. He wasn't frightened by FDR, and he certainly isn't going to be frightened by Truman. So some historians have argued that part of his reason, the motivation for Truman to use the atomic bomb was to kind of like show the Soviets that, we're in charge here, you need to stand down, that sort of thing, to sort of intimidate him. And then, of course, this is part of the reason why almost immediately after the war is over, why the United States and the Soviet Union enter what is known as the Cold War, right? It's all that tension, all of that, the mutual distrust, and that show of force. It's not going to intimidate Stalin. It's just going to make him even more confident and determined, if you will. Okay, so let's talk about the actual bombing of Japan. The Enola Gay is the name of the plane that is flown by the pilot Paul Tibbets, Tibbits. Now, Tibbets, 60 years after the bombing, when they asked Tibbets about his involvement in it, he actually said that he did not feel guilty about it at all. That he was doing his job, that he had a sense of pride. But there was a sense of guilt there, because it kind of did open the door for that proliferation. But as far as dropping the bomb on Japan, he just, he had to do what he had to do. So the Enola Gay is going to bomb the city of Hiroshima, Japan, on August 6, 1945. Pretty much killing about, let me see if I have some numbers here, 130,000 people die instantly. And the effects of it, even for those that survived the bombing, are horrific. There's all kinds of, people go blind, physical burns, radiation, cancer, tumors, all of that stuff. And then, of course, Japan doesn't surrender immediately after the bombing of Hiroshima. So Truman orders that a second bomb be dropped on the city of Nagasaki on August 9th, 1945. Now at Nagasaki, I believe another 90,000 people are going to die there. And, this is pretty much what brings the Japanese Empire to a halt. I think that I told you guys about this photograph. Like I said, this is the one that for a lot of Japanese citizens, this is the first time that they see the emperor. And then, of course, he's there with Douglas MacArthur, in a very informal pose. And, the war had now come to an end. August 14th, 1945. is designated as Victory in Japan Day, or VJ Day. But like I said, in that moment in time, it was not realistic to think that Truman wouldn't have used the bomb. Everything, every reason to use it was there. The money, the time, the investment, and like I said, looking back on it, was it the right choice? Was it the right thing to do? And so I think you have to consider all the destruction, the major consequences that came out of it. It's going to change world politics, of course. Everything got bigger. Um, you know, um, Nuclear proliferation is going to be there. The industrial complex, the military-industrial complex, will begin. War will now become almost like a full-time thing. And for a while, it will seem like the world might be a safer place, because it's almost like the war is over, and it sort of came to this very abrupt end, and but it's not going to stay that way forever, especially because it won't be long before it's no longer the United States that has access to nuclear bombs. It will also become the Soviets. Okay, so like I said, the government is going to get a lot bigger out of this sort of national emergency. So it's no longer going to be just, having troops having people in the military and expanding the size of the military just for wartime. Like I said, it will now become almost like a full-time thing. A restructuring, if you will, of the military will take place, and it will begin to take up a huge chunk of our budget. Okay, so I'm going to stop it there for now. The next sort of part of this lecture is going to be on the effects at home. So the war at home. Okay, I'll see you guys then.